went down to Bernauer Strasse or Eberswalder Strasse. We went down to the wall where the East German guards were taking out these 5-ton pieces of the wall and laying down track where you could walk across it. So the four of us walked into this no man's land, this death strip, which is made up of a sand trap, of sensors, of razor fence, of a stubbled field, cleared field, towers with searchlights, other barriers, and we walked across all of this and we wandered into West Berlin. People cheered, and we felt the same kind of surreal occasion. Where are we? What are we doing here? What does this mean? What has happened? Well, luckily nearby there was a playground where we let our children play for a little bit, and then we decided we would go back. On the way back, the East German guards stopped us and asked for our ID card. And we took our diplomatic ID cards out, showing clearly that we were American diplomats. And the guard says, "You can't come here. You may not pass. This is only for citizens of the GDR." So then we got into this argument of we live in the GDR. This is a GDR East German ID card. He had a little difficulty understanding why any American would live in East Berlin. And after a while, he finally gave up and just threw up his hands, and we walked back with our dog and into this uncertain time in East Germany, a time of much volatility, a time of uncertainty, and everything but freedom. The East Germans had achieved their quest for freedom. Now they needed a quest for security, for stability, to do the transition.
What was it like to watch it come down in the days following?
Oh, we went behind our house in East Berlin and watched as the trucks came in and took piece after piece. And it was very surreal. It was, again, just a very, something that was there forever, and suddenly it was being dismantled. It was disappearing. And it was quite remarkable to see. And the feeling was that our world is coming to an end. This is over. This Cold War, the Soviet Union didn't intervene in Germany, but they won't intervene anywhere. So in the postscript, I would say two things. One is, why didn't the guards shoot to kill? And it's very interesting. The neighbors that we had, we went to a church in East Berlin, and we were visiting some friends, Uwe Garrison, not so long after that. And I commented to him, well, I don't understand. The guards had a shoot to kill order, but they didn't carry it out. And he said, oh, my brother-in-law was there. Let me call him. He was in the same apartment building. And his brother-in-law came down and showed us his identification card. His identification card was like a little passport with a picture on one side and name and address on the other. And the East German guards at Bornholmer Strasse, where he was that night, had simply stamped a visa on his face of his picture, which invalidated the ID card. So he was actually expelled. But he didn't tell anybody, nor did anyone else that night. They simply went into West Berlin, and television told the story. Television was the story. Because, as I said, for an hour and a half, we didn't have any news. We didn't have any authority. We didn't know what was happening officially. We could only see what was happening on the television. And the television was telling a different story. The television was confirming Mr. Brokaw's comments. The wall is open. And they were going to seize it and take that opportunity. And the guards simply let them go through, thinking they could once again close the gate. But they couldn't, because the television cameras were. But the other question we had is, why didn't the Soviets intervene? We believed that if they would intervene anywhere to protect their interests, it would be in East Germany. So I asked my counterpart, the Soviet minister, his name was Igor Maksimichev. Igor, what has happened? This was years later. I asked him. I didn't understand. Why didn't something happened. What did you do that night, I asked. And he explained that when he heard the Schabowski press conference and general statement about travel at some point and maybe now we can work on it, his ambassador went to sleep, and there was no East German available to talk to. And so for a while, once the issues started happening late at night, 10 o'clock at night, which would be midnight, 12:30 in Moscow, he said he sat down and watched the television. And he sat in amazement at what was happening. But he couldn't reach the East German officials. And then I asked, well, you must have told the ambassador. He said, no, the ambassador was asleep. Didn't want to be disturbed. And I said, you must have reached Moscow and told them. He said, well, there's very little I could add because there wasn't anything, there weren't any East Germans to talk to. And they could see what they could see on television the same as I could. And besides, I couldn't reach Foreign Minister Shevardnadze, who would be favorably disposed to these events. And so I didn't call, he said. And then I asked, well, you must have done something as well. Actually, about midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, my wife, Anna, asked, what are you doing, Igor? You must tell Moscow what's going on. And he said, well, actually, Mikhail Gorbachev said we should not over-dramatize these issues, and I will tell them in the morning. Well, as we all know, by the morning, the story was finished. The story had changed. East German government had passed to the hands of the people and would later become the cry of, we are the people. We are the people's police. We are the people. And then that later became, we are one people. One German people. So on the night of November 9th, 1989, there's some of the dramatic moments that occurred that changed the world forever.